on the book of face. Yeah, I know where to go. There's a man over there into the music scene, showing lots of love for the community. With great advice, I know who I should go see. So all around town radio show, that's where I go for the latest band info.
All right, everybody, good afternoon. Welcome to the show. Thank you, Sweet Sister Mercy, for that theme song, All Around Town Radio theme there. Welcome to Wednesday with the Band. It's a nooner show today, and we're in the house here in the studio doing some great things. And joining me on the show today from the band More Than Zero, I have our friend Ken Stapleton. How you doing, Ken?
I'm doing well, Scott. How are you?
What's going on, my friend? You're sitting in a car outside in this beautiful weather, right?
Yeah, the Wi-Fi signal in the dealership I work at is not real stable, so I came outside, and maybe the 5G will help me out today.
Well, let's hope so. We were having a little technical issue, so folks, bear with us. If you're watching today live, we may have to play with a few Wi-Fi things as we go here. So, Ken, let's get started. Well, I've got a good signal with you, and I've got you on the show. We've been wanting to get you guys on the show for a long time, and the band More Than Zero comes highly regarded. I hear from a lot of people what a wonderful band you guys have and all that. Tell me a little bit about the band and maybe the members of your band as well.
We are a female-fronted band, 5-piece. Our drummer, bass player, and singer are all brothers and sisters. We have Missy Knight, lead vocals, Mark Garman on bass, and Marty Garman on drums. Eric Knight and myself are the co-lead guitar players.
All right. And how long you guys been together? How long you put this together?
It's been about 3 years now. We had a different bass player early on. And then with this lineup right now, we've been together for a little over a year.
All right, perfect. Sounds wonderful. So how do you get the name More Than Zero? Where'd that come from? I want to know that.
Well, I wasn't even in the band at the time, and Eric had we were at a undisclosed location seeing a unnamed band, and I wasn't really fond of some of the music that I was hearing. So I drew a big zero in the middle of the table we're sitting at. And I said, the answer is zero. What's the question? And I said, I want to hear 0 songs from this band. So the next day, Eric was asking me questions about what he should name the band. I said, why don't you just name the band More Than Zero? Because I'm sure that I will want to hear more than 0 songs from your band. So over time, he asked me to join. And once I heard Missy's voice, it was a no-brainer.
All right. Well, that's a good story. That's a unique one for sure. I've had people say, well, we just decided at one night having a beer and that's it. But that's a great story. I want to say hi to Butch joining us today. David Mills in the house. Roger, thank you for being here. Dirk Turner, thanks for tuning in. And guys, again, if you're watching this after we're live, we know the noon shows don't get the biggest live viewership. So if you're watching after we're live, please drop a comment in there. Ken and I will monitor the show and the comments and such over the next few days, and he'll be glad to answer questions for you if you have a question for More Than Zero. But Ken, how would you describe your musical style, the band's musical style? What would you call it?
It's mostly 80s classic rock from Journey, Van Halen, pretty much anything. Missy can sing a lot of different genres, so we'll do Hailstorm, we'll do Van Halen, Led Zeppelin, AC/DC, you name it, Night Ranger, Pat Benatar, Heart, all the heavy hitters. We're playing them all.
Does Missy do all the singing in the band, or do you have other folks doing some lead stuff?
Eric and I do backup. I sing Cold Gin by Kiss, and Eric and I do some vocals on the Beastie Boys, Fight for Your Right, and I sing a line in Metallica for Whom the Bell Tolls. But yes, Missy sings the majority of the songs, but I do sing a couple myself.
All right, so if somebody comes to see one of your shows, and you guys are playing out a lot, I mean, I see on the board here who's playing out and all that as we feature those. Give them some of those cover songs they're going to hear out of your set list.
Bon Jovi. We do a lot of Journey. We do Boston, Whitesnake, Motley Crue, Heart, Van Halen, Hailstorm, Kiss. I don't think there's a band that we don't cover other than Mr. Big, and that's an inside joke between myself and Missy.
All right. So let me throw this at you then. With all those bands you're playing, you guys are just doing covers then as you're out there. That's what you're doing to please the crowd, right?
Yeah, 100% all covers.
Yeah. Do you do any of your own writing or your own music, or you just dabble with that a little bit, or have you guys ever recorded anything?
We've not recorded any originals, just riffs here and there, but nothing concrete.
All right. So, Ken, I know I see you out a lot. I see you at different places supporting local music and seeing other bands and things play. You have a lot of friends in the music business, because when I announced I was going to have you guys on today, they were excited about it and all that. So, who are some of your musical influences going back in time, and maybe what famous musicians you admire?
I have to start out with the Ace Frehley, Edward Van Halen, but locally, a good friend of mine, Jeff Madewell, who passed away a year ago. He taught me a lot of stuff. Mark Palmer, Tony Powell are some of the local guys, and even my good friend Brian Harris. His brother Michael Harris was a big influence on me growing up. But I would say Edward Van Halen, Ace Frehley, and I know Eric. His influences are mostly John Petrucci, and some of those guys like that. I like to call myself Slash, and he's Petrucci because he's more technical, and I'm just more laid back and play whatever.
Gotcha. So as you move through these sets of classic 80s rock and roll, do you personally have any favorites you do throughout the night, a favorite song or anything that just you really think gets that crowd motivated?
Yeah, we do some Poison, which the people really like. Talk Dirty to Me, Mama Don't Dance. The Journey stuff is real well received. Boston, but yeah, I think the songs I really like the most are our second set. We start out with White Snake, Slow and Easy. We go into Still the Night, then we go into Monkey Business. Those three songs right there are real powerful, and I like them a lot.
You're getting some shout outs here. Steve is saying hey there from Mad Hatter, and now with DV8 rocking out with them occasionally. You know Steve well, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
And Steve Hook says hey, Ken, and so does Glenn on the YouTube channel. Thanks, guys. If you're out there and you have a question or a comment, please write it in the comments. And if you're watching after we're live again, you can put them in there. Ken and I will monitor that, and also over the next few days, answer those for you if you have questions or such about More Than Zero. So your individual members, have they all been playing music for a long time?
Yes. Missy started singing in church, and then she stepped away from singing for a while. And ironically, Missy, Eric, and I were in a country band for a brief second. Mark Garman played bass in a Christian metal band called Gnashing of Teeth, and Marty's been playing drums most of his life. So, and then I've been playing for about 30 years myself. So yeah, we've got a lot of experience. But as a band, yeah, we're real young, but we're real hungry, and we're just ready to bring a good show to Heathers.
Well, would you call your band a Dayton-based or Cincinnati-based band?
I would say Dayton-based. We're here in Dayton.
And for those of you that are watching from the Dayton area, or hell, Cincinnati, it's not a far drive to get to Heathers this Saturday. You just mentioned it. And they're going to be playing Heathers on the patio Saturday, and I hope to get there at some point throughout the night. I've got to introduce our friend Kevin McCoy at Laurie's Roadhouse for his album release party early on, and then I'm going to get out there and see you guys as well, Ken. And, I've heard from everybody that says you guys are very good musicianship-wise, that you're very good technically, and you the songs they hear, you're not deviating too much from what they were recorded as. You're not trying to make them some different song and all that. Do you feel that's important to the crowd when they come see, especially the 80s rock stuff?
Yeah, I think it is very important. There are some songs that you can probably get away with just playing whatever you want, but for the most part, everything we do is note for note. At least we like to try to make it as note for note as we possibly can. I think it's important, as a fan of music, I like to see the bands playing everything note for note, but there are songs that, you can stray away from.
Right. And I, You know, you mentioned earlier playing Poison, and I get out and about all the time, and I love 80s rock, man. 80s rock is where I was raised, cut my teeth on, and everything else. But it's so funny to hear people dog out Bret Michaels. Yet everywhere you go, they play a Poison song. Everybody's dancing, they're banging their heads, they're doing whatever. He gets a bad rap, and I've met Bret at numerous shows I've done with him, and I will tell you, and Steve can attest to it as well. One of the nicest guys you'll ever meet in rock and roll. And he doesn't have that ego. He's not one of those guys. And it's funny you said that, the Poison song, because I see that and I always laugh because I say everybody wants to make fun of Poison, but man, they're still rocking. I saw them at the stadium tour this year. They killed it.
Yeah, I saw them at stadium tour as well, and I just thought they did great as well. And I got to give most of the credit to Eric for putting these sets together. He does a really good job putting these songs there. And I was a little hesitant at first about, Mama Don't Dance, but, it gets the people up and dancing. So I'll probably play until the day I'm dead. But yeah, we just love all that stuff right there. Yeah, but I agree. Poison gets a bad rap, but people love to hear it. Def Leppard the same way.
Now, do you bang through a set? Are you like back to back, song, no gaps in between? Do you segue one song to the next? How do you guys do it?
We break it up. Eric's got it broke up to where we take breaks every 3 or 4 songs, and I'll say a few words. Missy will say a few words. It's very important for us to tell the crowd, thank you for coming, and then make sure that they're tipping their bartenders and their waitresses because they're working hard for them that evening. But yeah, we tend to break it up over the course of the hour.
Well, I love you say that too, because that's so important to work with the venue and the people that are working to support the crowd that comes to see you. Now, I understand you're looking for a pretty big crowd on Saturday at Heather's. You're bringing some folks. It sounds like you got a lot of momentum there. And what are we going to see at Heather's? Are we going to see anything different than any other More Than Zero or more than? Listen to me, I'm banging my head today. Any other show you've done?
We're going to be bringing a lot of high energy like we normally do. Our sound guy, Todd, is coming back. This will be his first show back with us after having some medical issues. I'm very excited to bring, that with him. But yeah, everyone's really excited to come down here and play at Heather's. We've been waiting to get in here for a very, very long time. We want to get into this area to show the people, the MTZ rocks, and we hope that they'll stay and like us and continue to come see our shows wherever we're playing.
Now, I understand too that is it you and Missy do a little sideline gig, a little duo sometimes out there?
Yeah,
you guys...
yeah. She and I are in an acoustic project called Finding Melissa, and that has taken off pretty well. We're playing, if not every week or weekend when we're not with MTZ. But yeah, we just love to play music live, and especially we love playing music together.
And I know you've been playing up there at O'Connor's, our friend Tina's place up there in Springfield a little bit. I've seen you on the bill there. And somebody was just asking out there about, we might as well throw it up in the comments now or up front there. I think Butch was asking about, do you have any social media accounts? So we'll say follow More Than Zero at More Than Zero Band on Facebook. Do you have any other social media you do?
We have Instagram. We have some YouTube, but most of everything can be, you can go to our Facebook page and see pretty much everything More Than Zero when it comes to that.
Right. And do you put videos up on YouTube at all, like that people shoot at your shows or any of that? Or
yeah, Eric's girlfriend, Kimber, put a bunch of videos together. They're on our Facebook page. That link to our YouTube channel is on there as well.
Okay, perfect. That's good to hear. And well, I always worry about those audience shot videos making it online because you never know what you're going to hear in the background. Or I always joke about there's always that girl singing off key, off camera, and they think it's the band when they're hearing the video. So you have to be kind of careful with those things. But it's important to get out there. And you're an old school musician. Obviously, you've played a while. What do you think about all this social media stuff? I mean, is it overwhelming to you to do all this and try to keep up with everything?
It has been, but sticking with the Facebook format for everything, I think there's a lot of social media accounts out there, but as far as trying to keep track of them all, it is a lot. But I stay up on the Facebook stuff, try and get the name out there.
I know I looked at your events are all up there and that. So if somebody wants to go check out where you're playing next, they can go to More Than Zero Band on Facebook and see those things. And I want to turn a little bit, make a little right turn here. I want to talk about you for a minute. And we talked about musical influences. Do you remember, Ken, the first song you ever played out in front of an audience?
Wow. That's
I know that's deep, but
believe it or not, it was probably the Beastie Boys, Fight for Your Right, or Steve Miller, Jet Airplane. But Eric and I grew up together, and we were always playing guitar. It was a lot of Night Ranger, a lot of Black Sabbath, but and then myself was a lot of Van Halen and Kiss. So probably "Ain't Talking About Love" was probably one of the first songs I remember playing it, and probably "Doc" and "Breaking the Chains."
have you ever worn the Kiss makeup?
Believe it or not, I will share a picture with you sometime in the future of me when I was probably an 8-year-old young man. I got Kiss Alive 2 and Double Platinum for Christmas one year, and I must have gotten the Kiss licensed makeup because I had the Peter Criss makeup on as well.
Yeah, they used to send it like a template. You could paint your face with it and all that. I played in for lack of a better term, it was a tribute band back in the day, but we really didn't play. We lip synced and acted like we were playing to the music at Americana, doing a Kiss show and Americana, and that was fun. I was Ace, and I was a lot skinnier then, and I could play that part off pretty well. But that I love the guys that like Kiss. I've seen Kiss numerous times. I'm sure you have as well, and they're a hell of a live band. And if you can duplicate the energy that Kiss puts out there when you're doing your shows and their songs, everybody again will be up dancing and having fun. Ken, do you have any fond musical memories as you were growing up, maybe in your house, your neighborhood? You said you played a lot with Eric, but anything as you were growing up, what got you the bug to be a musician?
Probably it was Kiss, just that particularly, and then my sister had a boyfriend who turned me on to Van Halen, Doug Proctor, rest in peace. And he took me to my very first Van Halen concert in 1984. And from then, it just was, I just had to learn the guitar. I still have my very first guitar. And I can remember very fondly of just having just piece of crap guitars, plugging it into my parents' stereo in the auxiliary input, just trying to learn whatever I could, however long it took. But yeah, being a young kid, learning songs through my parents' stereo was a really fond memory.
And that, that's funny. I think that's for a lot of us, that same thing, sitting in your bedroom or whatever, or playing music and try to learn songs and that on a guitar. Many of us have done that over the years, and you've made it happen where a lot of us gave up on it. I did. I mean, I played bass for several years, and I can still play a little bass, but guitar, man, always used to just frustrate me. And I admire anybody that's an accomplished guitar player and can get up there on stage and do it. So, those are fond memories. You said you were involved in a country band back then. Have you been involved in any other bands that might be noteworthy of anybody knowing in the area here?
For a brief time, I was in a band called Caution Dog with a friend of mine, John Butts. That kind of got me back into the music scene. I hung out with Jeff Madewell in the Madewell days back in the late 80s, early 90s, and then I followed my friend Mark Palmer in a band called Trim back in the early 80s. And then I was in a band called Forsaken for a few years with my good friend Dave Davis.
Gotcha. And can we just say what a talent Jeff Madewell was? I mean, what a loss that is. I mean, he was unbelievably talented.
Yeah, his birthday was last Friday. We did a show in Missy and I did a show in Yellow Springs, and I sang one of his songs as a tribute to him. Tell Me. Yeah, it was a great time.
All right. So you said you don't really write your own songs. You played a few riffs, so we're not going to talk about that much. But I am going to talk about your cover songs that you do. And you said putting the set list together. Is that a difficult task to do to kind of make a set list flow and get the crowd up and down? And, they got to sit in their seat once in a while and buy a beer. So, that's a fine line. So how do you make that happen?
Well, that's a great question. Eric would probably be the one to answer that. He just couldn't come on live. But yeah, he spends a lot of time figuring out how the song is going to flow. We do a Journey medley that it actually goes into Boston Smokin', and then just keeping that energy of those two Journey songs all the way through into that Boston song, and then also with the Poison song. When we finish the end of Talk Dirty to Me, we go straight into Mama Don't Dance, because there's people out there dancing to Talk Dirty to Me, and we want to keep them out there for a little bit. Then we might go into like a Skid Row, I Remember You song, just to kind of break it up. But yeah, it's mostly high energy, and we do take a little break here and there for certain songs. But we do the Motley Crue back to back, Kickstart My Heart, and Same Old Situation. But yeah, it's a lot of high energy stuff, man. And he spent a lot of time putting that stuff together.
I bet. And that's so important. And we've talked about that on my Hot Topic Tuesday show a lot. We've talked about how important set lists are. And, yeah, you can call an audible once in a while if you see the crowd changing or whatever. But for the most part, planning that set list is as important than playing it many times, because all it takes is somebody to throw a couple of slow songs in the middle of a peak energy portion of the show, and it just kills the vibe. And and I know that once that vibe is done, people start looking for another place to go, even if the band's great. They're just like, I'm moving on tonight. People are nomads now in the music business. They travel from bar to bar and those kind of things. So you guys, obviously you play the songs that inspire people to stay and party, but have you ever had a song that you played, Ken, that just fell flat, that you guys said, we can never do that again?
Oh, probably Megadeth, Symphony of Destruction, but we really didn't give it our all. And we tried Sabbath True, and we tried some Pantera, but with Missy's voice, as great as it is, Pantera might be a little too heavy for us. But yeah, but for the most part, people really enjoy the material that we're putting out there. So yeah, although Eric spent a lot of time putting these sets together, he also comes up with a lot of these songs. And you throw out a Pink song or a song like that, there's more to it than just playing the Pink song. Thinking about MTZ playing that song is what's going through his head.
Well, yeah, and we talked about that in yesterday's show, how the music crowd has morphed into not being like one genre. They're all like accepting all these different genres, and now bands are starting to morph. And you'll see, and we had several examples yesterday where a band played and they were excellent playing rock and roll, and then they threw two country songs in. And the people that come to see them normally were like taken back. They were like, no, that's not what we like from you. So it's a really tough sword to, double-edged sword there to play when you're figuring out these set lists and who's doing what. And, I've got one more question for you, Ken. Before we get into talking about your social media and all those things, let's talk about my favorite question I ask musicians. And we do it every time we do an interview. If you could take the stage with one person or band, past or present, they can be dead or alive, who would it be?
Obviously, it would be Edward Van Halen, but I would also love to get back on stage with my good friend Jeff Madewell.
Well, there you go. And let me find it here, because I know Steve is out there from Mad Hatter. And when you said Edward Van Halen, he just cheered for you. That happened. Yeah. A lot of people say that, and I think that would have been the coolest thing ever. And I would have loved to have been on the stage with the David Lee Roth days of Van Halen. I mean, Sammy Hagar, I love his music. I love what he does. But that flamboyant craziness that they projected back in the early 80s and that with Van Halen, late 70s, I just thought it was really cool. So you're playing them. You're playing Van Halen. You're playing Kiss. You're playing Poison. And you're playing all those songs that get people up dancing. And so I will say this. How can people find you out there on social media and get familiar with More Than Zero if they haven't?
Before I say that, I just want to also give a shout out to Steve Krakis from Mad Hatter. He recently just became on my radar, and I can't thank him enough for the inspiration he's also provided me for becoming better and better as a guitar player. As a person, he is just top notch, and I look up to him very well, and I can't wait to see him next. But everybody can check out More Than Zero at Facebook at morethanzeroband.com. And I always say you'll see my ugly mug and all the rest of the beautiful faces in More Than Zero. But yeah, morethanzeroband.com on Facebook is where you can check out most things More Than Zero.
And we've got a picture of the band up on our page today where we advertised the show this morning and their logo and all that. So make sure you're in the right place when you're looking for that, and give them a like and give them a follow or whatever you got to do out there to make sure you see what these fellas and ladies are doing. And I want to go see the acoustic act as well. I mean, I think that that's a good one. I know that's not what we're here to talk about today, but I think it's interesting to see how bands are able to pull this off. Like our friends from Ladder, who are doing a little act now called Step Ladder, which is their step down version of Ladder. And I think that's wonderful. And you guys doing this gives you more opportunities to play different places and get seen and advertise your band, I guess, when you're there too.
Yeah, anything that Missy and I do acoustically, it just helps MTZ so much. And we were at O'Connor's last night, and we're going to probably be there. We will be there every Tuesday, or one Tuesday every month for the end of the year. But yeah, we love O'Connor's, and the acoustic thing has brought us closer and closer together, and being able to get to some of these places that MTZ wouldn't normally play, like a lot of breweries and smaller venues that only do acoustic acts. But yeah, we love it.
Well, I've seen you and Missy hanging out at Froggy's, hanging out at Heather's, watching different bands and supporting music. We appreciate that as well. I always love to see musicians who say, yeah, I play a lot, but I'm tired, but I'm still going to go out tonight and support my fellow musicians and see what they're doing. So that's stand up, and thank you for that, Ken. We appreciate it.
Always a local musician supporting local musicians is what I always say.
Absolutely. So we can find you on social media and it's up there. It was on the screen, but now we've got More Than Zero live at Heather's Saturday, the 17th at 7 p.m. That's your start time, right? 7 that night?
Yes, sir.
All right. So everybody can get out there. You have any other future shows you want to plug as we're going out here today?
We're playing a lot at Wings. We're playing a lot at Little York Tavern. We'll be at the Brick Tap and Tavern. Phone Booth is coming up soon. That's our debut at Phone Booth. So we'd like to see a lot of people at our Phone Booth show. But yeah, check us out on morethanzeroband.com on Facebook for all things More Than Zero. Yeah, we'd love to see you at a show and bring MTZ to your life.
Well, you just got a big shout out from Tina up there at O'Connor. Says, can't wait to have you back. That's a good endorsement from Tina. Absolutely. And Steve says, we're all musical brothers and sisters, Ken. And Steve, thank you for all you do also for the music community, man. You're out there. You're making it happen. And Tina says, they are amazing. There we go.
Well, yeah, O'Connor's that back where the full bands play. She's done a great job with that. And everybody should go to O'Connor's and check that out. We played there a couple weeks back, and it was just phenomenal what she's done there.
Yeah, and everybody gets worried about that being. I talk to people about it all the time, and they're worried about it being too far. It's not like you're driving to Cleveland, people. It's just a little bit east of Dayton, up there off I-70. You can go to Springfield and go to O'Connor's. It's a great location as well. So, yeah. Ken, I want to thank you for being here. I'm glad the Wi-Fi worked out for us today.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm very thankful for you, Scott, for giving me the opportunity to promote More Than Zero, and I can't thank you enough for all you do for us local musicians and the local music scene.
Well, I appreciate you, man. And, it's one of those things that we want to talk about who's around us, and you guys are going to be around us on Saturday. I look forward to catching your show. I may not be there at the very beginning, but I'll get in there on Saturday night and catch you at Heather's for a little bit. So More Than Zero, guys, follow them on the Book of Face. And Ken, I can't thank you enough for stepping outside in the outdoor weather today and doing this with me.
My pleasure. Thank you, Scott.
All right, guys. And we'll be back tomorrow here. And Ken, hang in there till we go off the air, if you will, with me for just a second. We'll be back tomorrow live at 5 o'clock with Who's Playing Out. It is featuring the best musicians and venues in the tri-state. It's brought to you by Froggy's in Monroe, Ohio. So tune in tomorrow at 5. Until then, gang, get out there, support live local music and the bands and venues that bring it to you. We'll see you next time here at Hall Around Town Radio. I'm Scott Hall, your host. Bye-bye, everybody.
Working for the weekend.